Hello, my name is Martin Richards and I'm a mature MA student studying for a Master's degree of Arts in photography. Being a mature student means I have other skill sets and life experiences that go beyond photography. In my own case, this is aircraft and aerospace engineering. Over the years, I've worked on most of the UK's airborne surveillance systems, as shown here. Airborne reconnaissance and surveillance is not a new concept. Military observers have always sought out the high ground to better view the enemy positions, but it was not until the first attempts to use a hot air balloon in the Napoleonic era and in the US Civil War did man really take to the air. Though it was in the First World War that airborne reconnaissance actually matured. The first aircraft to take to the air during the First World War were reconnaissance aircraft, typically flying with a pilot and an observer armed only with a sketch pad and pencil. In fact, the fighter aircraft only came along later, and that was deliberately to try and take out reconnaissance aircraft. However, the sketch pad soon gave way to the handheld camera, which in turn gave way to cameras mounted onto the aircraft itself. After a lot of trial and error, the Royal Flying Corps developed a systematic approach to airborne reconnaissance, and by now their cameras were loaded with multiple plates into a magazine. What the aircraft would do would be flying at a standard height, fly over the trenches or the area they wish to photograph, and fly at a set height, set speed in a set direction, and produce a whole series of photographs that, when developed and placed together, would create a map. The maps developed by the use of this reconnaissance system enabled the military planners to map out trenches, but also to actually look for what had changed on the ground and observe troop movements and changes in disposition. Around the same time I started on the MA course, my local newspaper, the Leicester Mercury, ran a story saying that an application had been made to build houses on the site of a former POW camp in Scraptoft, a village where my parents lived for a short time and only a few kilometres from where I currently live. I examined the site and did some basic research and found that there are around 500 main POW sites in England, Scotland and Wales, and that the number of POWs peaked at over 400,000. I also discovered that many of these sites had now simply been lost. When I first visited this POW site in Scraptoft and walked the site, I was amazed to see the amount of detail that was still there, even though the buildings had now gone. The outline of all the previous buildings in the form of the bases, in a lot of cases, was there intact, but when I took photos of these sites, it simply did not work. What you could see there in front of you in 3D stereo vision simply did not translate to a two-dimensional photograph. The images look flat, and although the features are captured very well, it is very difficult to actually make them out on some of the photographs. And it is at this point when I decided that I need to make a substantial change in my techniques and approach. Coincidentally with the start of my MA, a Chinese company called DJI launched the Mavic 2 drone, the first affordable photo quality drone. In fact, DJI actually released two versions of this drone, the Zoom and the Pro. Whilst the airframe and software for both of these drones is the same, they carry different cameras and sensors. The Pro version is aimed at photography and the Zoom version is aimed at video. Needless to say, I bought the Mavic 2 drone at a cost of $1,350 from Park Cameras. I also bought what they call the Fly More kit, which contains additional batteries for the drone, along with extra rotor blades, car chargers and a few other toys. The whole lot, including the insurance, was very close to £2,000. So affordable does have its limits. It took a few days to get used to the way the drone flies and to learn how to actually make use of the drone. But I rapidly learned that although the Pro 2 is aimed more at the photographer than the filmmaker, the control software for the drone still favours the filmmaker. However, using this drone, I was finally able to show, using photography, what I could see walking around a site. The photos shot with this drone show the site in a way that you simply cannot do with photo shots at the ground level, and they serve to illustrate the layout of the former POW camp. In these two drone images, one's at an oblique angle, i.e. shot at an angle, where the other is shot in a mapping mode or viewed straight down. Each of these methods using the drones to take photography has its own artistic and technical merits, and it depends on the aspects of the scene that you're trying to capture. However, with the example images, the straight down view is arguably easier to find that punctum or focal point that you wish people to concentrate on. With these two images, they were both shot at a height of 400 feet. Now, this is an important number for any drone photographer pretty much worldwide, but not for any artistic or technical reasons. You do not own the airspace above your house or property, rather it's government controlled and regulated through military and civil air traffic controllers. The default minimum height worldwide for aircraft flying outside of an airport is set by the International Civil Aviation Organization, and it is set at 400 feet. Hence, the maximum drone height is set at 400 feet. This is to keep drones and light aircraft apart. Anyone in the UK flying above the 400 feet in altitude faces a fine of £1,000 and the loss of their drone. On the subject of the law in the UK, if you have a drone that weighs over 250 grams, you have to now register that drone with the CAA at a cost of £9 a year, and you have to pass a basic computer test in order to fly the drone. Flying at 120 metres or 400 feet above the ground, the camera will cover an area of about 130 by 90 metres. Now, in order to photograph the various sites, I've now developed a consistent approach. The system I've adopted is one by which I fly the drone in a compass pattern around each particular site, shooting approximately 8 images. I will then manoeuvre the drone around the site and photograph any interesting features. Once I've done this, I will return the drone, land it and replace the battery, and take a second set of images. This second set of images is normally done with the drone camera pointing straight down and flying in a very deliberately square pattern to produce a series of strips of images. In the case of Scraptoft, image of the site has required approximately 94 separate images. These are then combined on a computer using Lightroom or Photoshop to produce the one single large image. So, why not get a drone license and fly as high as you like? Well, people use the term drone license and assume that you can simply take a test like you do with a car or motorbike, and that once you pass the test, the restrictions no longer apply. In the UK, on obtaining a permission for commercial operation of a drone, you're allowed to charge money for using the drone to take photographs and video. That is all. The same restrictions still apply. Not only do the restrictions still apply, but the cost and the process of getting a permission for commercial operation can be expensive. You essentially have to take a course that proves you're competent to operate a drone. You have to submit an operations manual of 60 to 80 pages. You have to have commercial drone insurance. You have to register as a commercial operator, form a company, and you must pay a fee of just under £300 per year to the CAA. In all, the total initial process costs around £3,000. Thereafter, you'll be paying about £1,000 to £1,500 a year just for being able to charge to take photos and videos using a drone. Once you have your drone license as such, it is possible to apply and obtain extensions, but these tend to be very specific to a particular job, task or area, and are generally time limited. I have teamed up with a commercial drone operator called Adrian Tinsack, who is helping me to record the site of POW camp number 85 Victoria. This site is nothing special, and like Scraptoft and many other sites, is now a simple field with a few remains. However, it is within the minimum exclusion area of United States Air Force Base Mildenhall. To be allowed to shoot at this site, Adrian has had to make a formal application on my behalf to the United States Air Force, and they have agreed that we can use the drone over the Thanksgiving holiday as the base is closed. But even to do this, the United States Air Force has had to issue a worldwide bulletin called a NOTAM, Notice to Airmen, to tell people that drones will be in use. This exercise is costing me a minimum of £500, and I expect the images produced would be no different from those of the other sites I've shot.